Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Kleiber Show. I'm starting to realize it might be fun to have a little intro music so you all know when the show starts, so it's not just me going, hello. Um, or maybe the intro music could have me saying hello, hello. Welcome to the show. Today is Wednesday, October 21st, 2020. The election in the United States is coming up pretty soon, but I don't really want to talk about the election today. I want to pause and talk a little bit about what's going on in Nigeria. To be honest, I don't really know too much about what's going on in Nigeria. And sometimes I think we should talk only about things that we know and are certain about, but I think sometimes it's worthy to explore things that we don't know too much about. And so, what's happening in Nigeria? I've seen Twitter posts and hashtags about end SARS. My understanding is that SARS was a police unit that would go around and was not only picking on, but also maybe robbing certain individuals, especially ones that had more money and had been going on for a while, and that people are now protesting in the streets. And from what I've seen, that some of the protests have become violent. Not that the protests are violent themselves, but that there was a violent response from some people in the police, and some people have died. And it feels really distant for me. Maybe it's because I haven't read too much about it. I've never been to Nigeria. I've lived in East Africa, and I've traveled to Burkina Faso in the West. But I haven't been to Nigeria itself. But I have many friends who are from Nigeria here in the U.S. and in different parts of the world. And part of me is really excited that people are standing up for what they believe is right. Part of me is worried that it will lead to bloodshed. Part of me is really scared and really impacted when I see some of the photos from over there. I was talking with a friend of mine from Uganda, and I said, the posts that we get in the US about death are very censored in a way, or very kind of like protected. We show a lot of death in movies, lots of violence in movies. But when it comes to death, like actual death in war or in violence in real life, we often don't show the people. It's something I thought would have helped make COVID-19 seem more real, is to show what it was like to be in the hospital choking on a ventilator, or what it was like to be a body rotting away or sitting in a refrigerated shipping container. But I don't know if I was prepared for seeing what I saw on Twitter, where I saw a photo of, I believe it was a young technologist in Nigeria who was just lying there dead in a pool of blood. That's somebody's son, that's somebody's relative, that's somebody's love, that's somebody's hope. I don't know. I don't think we can all fight for every cause on the planet, but there's something that I really believe strongly in. It's this idea that we only protect those with whom we feel connected. So protection by connection. And I think one of the things, even if I can't go over to Nigeria and help, even if I don't understand what's going on, is to just really try to pay attention to it a little more and show a little more love for the people who are out there on all sides, and the fear and the anger and the sadness and the pain and the confusion, and really just be there for people. And even if we can't physically be there, even if we can't be there in conversation, or we can't be there in body, just to be there in spirit, to be there with our thoughts and, well, they say thoughts and prayers, right? But some people think this doesn't matter. They say, I don't care about your thoughts and prayers. I want action. And I'm not saying thoughts and prayers are the only solution. Sometimes it's just hard to be there in action. What actions can we take? Is it donating money? Is it spreading the attention for the cause? Is it educating people? Is it making connections to the people who are there? Is it building technology to help them? And with so many things happening in the world, how can we help on all of them? Which ones do we help on? How do we spend our time and our energy? There's only so many things we can do during the day. I don't know. I just wanted to pause a little bit because I think we can get, at least here in the U.S., caught up in what's going on in the U.S. and not realize that there are similar struggles around the world. Turns out that almost all human beings, if not all, suffer. We feel anger, sadness, confusion, excitement, joy, gratitude, or similar things with different words that we attach to them. We feel stuff. We feel. And I imagine a lot of people in Nigeria right now are feeling lots of things, not just in Nigeria, but even in other African countries that may have received different types of violence over the years from either other populations within the country or outside of the country or government officials, people that they hope and dream will protect them. Because I think that core issue comes down in many parts of the world, that it's kind of like we're just hoping and dreaming that our parents, the authority figures, whether they're parents or whether they're government or whether the people who are in charge, just care about us and want us to be well. And sometimes it can seem like they hate us, or they don't even know we exist, that they go out of their way to make our life miserable. We just want them to care about us. I don't know what's going to happen in Nigeria, and like I said, I don't really know what's happening on the ground. I see stories, I see tweets here and there. It's very small information. It's the same thing. I don't know what's going on with many of the protests in the U.S. I don't know what's going on in Portland, Oregon. I don't know what's going on in the Congo and in Africa. I don't know what's going on in Hong Kong. I don't really know what's going on in a lot of places like this. I could try to become more informed, and I want to a certain extent. And again, maybe a lot of it is just trying to care for these people. Recognize that these are people that might be our friends and family that are going through tough times. I can't imagine the swirl of emotions that people in Nigeria may be feeling right now. Like the people who are protesting. Maybe anger at what's happening to their fellow protesters and what has happened to people throughout the country for a long time. Maybe relief that people are finally starting to protest. Maybe strength that there are so many that are out there and not standing up for this. Maybe hope that the tide is about to shift. Maybe hopeless that it doesn't seem like their efforts are worth the fight, that nothing's going to change. Maybe lonely, sad that they helped out and lent their support and at least their energy and their emotional support to protest in the U.S. and not thinking that they're receiving as much support back. Maybe scared that somebody they really care about is getting really angry and really worked up about this, and they're afraid that they're going to put themselves into a very risky position. maybe scared that the situation is going to continue as is and nothing will change. Maybe grateful to be out there with so many other people, to know that they're not alone in this fight. I can't imagine what some of the police officers in Nigeria might be feeling. Maybe anger at the behavior of the protesters, maybe fear of what the protesters might do if things get out of hand, maybe regret for what they've done or how they've lived their life, maybe stuck, caring about the protesters, but also caring about the police officers and not knowing how to change the situation. Maybe angry that people don't recognize the struggle that they're going through. Maybe hopeful that things do change, that they change, and maybe even more hopeful that things change and they don't have to stick their necks out and put themselves too much into harm's way, and because they're worried that they might cause a lot of pain or backlash towards their family if they were to quote unquote switch sides. Can't imagine what the politicians are feeling. I can't imagine what the mothers and fathers are feeling, and the uncles and the brothers and the sisters. Can't imagine what people are feeling in other African countries as they watch this and think maybe this should happen in their country, the protest should happen, or as government officials worry that protests might happen, or maybe some police officers, and again, I don't think this is all police officers in Nigeria that are involved in this. I think it was a special unit in Nigeria that was going on with this. But I wonder how many police officers across Africa are starting to question their career, wondering if they've made the right decision. Are they getting paid enough for the stuff that they're doing, for the violence that they're facing? Maybe they're questioning whether they have been violent towards others and why they've been violent. Maybe they're worried about governments falling or governments becoming further entrenched or new governments coming into place. I don't know. I think sometimes it's useful just to explore the possibilities of how some other people might be feeling. Even in this short exercise here, I'm starting to feel a little relief in a weird way and much more connected to what's going on in their experience, or what could be going on in experience. I don't know. I can't imagine how many people might be devastated to see that young man lying dead in that photo. The pain, the absolute raw sadness at seeing someone like that. Doesn't matter where you're from. I saw a photo of a flag that had blood on it. I know I say this a lot. I think I can ramble on this show. I worry sometimes that my conversations spin in circles. I also think that's the nature of being a human, is that so often what's going on inside of us is just this swirl, this mix, this mess of life. And we try our darndest to put a nice little frame and package on it before we share it with the world. I don't think that's how it works. I think so much of us is just swirling and mixing together inside, and we don't know how to put words on it. We try. We try, but are people even interpreting the words the same way that we're trying to send them? Most likely not. How are you feeling when you think about what's going on in Nigeria? Probably, maybe a lot of things, maybe not too much. Maybe you don't know about it. Or maybe it's consuming your whole day. Maybe it's something you've seen here and there in Twitter, or you've seen in the news, or saw like a 30-second clip on one of the news channels that you watch or listen to. Maybe you have friends there. Maybe you're there. Maybe you've only lived there and that's all you know. There's a lot happening this year. With COVID-19 hitting so many parts of the world, and hitting some parts very badly, and even if not directly hitting them, and causing a lot of death and pain and loss of jobs and loss of work, loss of homes, causing indirect losses as the world becomes more closed off physically. As it's harder to travel, it's harder to ship goods, as it's harder to move around. It can cause a lot of pain. The families that aren't able to see each other across borders, the families that aren't able to see each other in the same house, or in the same neighborhood. There's so much going on. Someone says COVID is the door of the New World Order. Not sure what they mean by New World Order. If talking about reorganizing the world, I think so. I think it could be. I think it's an opportunity for us to choose how we're going to interact with each other and care about each other going forward. It seems like it's pushed a lot of people to the brink. Lots of anger, lots of frustration, lots of pent-up energy, lots of confusion, lots of uncertainty. That it comes out in different ways. And one of the ways it's coming out, I think, is in people protesting things that have bothered them for a very long time, but they never got pushed over the edge emotionally to where they said, okay, this is enough. It's like they say something about like the cup being filled to the top, and then you pour more water into it and it overflows. I think maybe it was Bruce Lee who said this, that you have to empty the cup. So as the cup fills up more and more, we get to the point where we are starting to overflow. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. If you've heard me talk before, I believe that everything is good and bad. It just depends on how we look at it. And while this can lead to lots of conflict in the short term, sometimes it's good. As my old friend Scott used to say, you just got to put the fish on the table, because once the fish is on the table, then somebody's got to take the fish off the table. So this idea of going through conflict and going through it, not avoiding it. I think in many parts of the world, we've avoided conflict. Things have bothered us. Things have frustrated us. Things have not been what we've wanted, but we just pretend that it's okay. But it doesn't go away. It just adds on to some other conflict. And eventually, at some point, all these conflicts come together and we just can't take it anymore and we erupt. Or we put the fish on the table and we say, listen, this is a problem. I have not liked this for many years, and finally I am saying something about this. Sometimes it shocks the other person. They didn't know that it was such a problem because we didn't tell them. We pretended as if everything were okay. But sometimes the other person knows. And that's when, the conversation sometimes comes to a head and becomes a little, unfortunately, sometimes violent and sometimes very confrontational. I just hope that we continue to work together to try to resolve the conflict, work together to try to bring the sides closer together, and realize that we're all on the same team. I think part of me worries sometimes that when I speak about things like this, people will get angry at me for not knowing more about what's going on, or not giving the floor, or giving the opportunity for people there to speak. I remember giving a speech at, we held a workshop. How do we feel about Ferguson after Michael Brown was killed in Ferguson in Missouri? And I remember a close friend of mine afterwards feeling very angry at me for being the white man on stage, saying, no, you're supposed to give the microphone to someone who's African American, someone who's struggling through this. We've heard enough of voices from people like you. Those weren't the exact words that the person said, but that's kind of how it felt. And sometimes I feel really guilty for holding the space and holding the attention. I also think that there's opportunity in it for me to open up and share about my feelings a little bit and to show you that I am feeling about this and to try to look at it in a different perspective. I felt helpless with a lot of the protests happening in the US. I feel even more helpless with the protests in Nigeria. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to help. I reached out to a friend yesterday in Nigeria and just asked him if he was okay. I figured it's a small step that I could take to help a little bit. And, it's a friend that reached out to me when COVID was hitting hard here in Michigan, because he's got relatives here in Michigan. And he's Nigerian. I met him through an organization. And it felt good to reciprocate, to send love his way as well, as he's struggling, as he may be struggling through this, or his friends and family may be struggling as well. But many of you may not know people in Nigeria. You may not know anyone in Africa. You may not know people here in the US who are of African descent or who are African American. Or you may not know. It's okay, I guess. I mean, we are who we are. We know who we know. We can't know everyone in the world. Maybe small ways to help really aren't so big in the moment or seem so big, but maybe they help and they contribute. So maybe one thing is to watch something about Nigeria, just to learn more about Nigeria, the country. One thing is maybe to watch and learn more about a Nigerian person. Maybe just reading a story about someone who's from Nigeria. If you're someone who's in the tech space, maybe it's learning more about technology in Nigeria. I saw Jack Dorsey from Twitter posted "End SARS," which is the hashtag that's going around. And it seems like he's more engaged, more involved in there. I think he even committed to moving to Africa. Maybe it was Nigeria, but to moving there for a year. I can't remember which country. I imagine it's probably Nigeria, Kenya, or one of the countries that's more on the forefront of the technology space. I'm not suggesting you need to move there. Maybe just research it a little bit more. Again, if you're in the tech space, learn about new Nigerian tech companies. Or if you're in the energy space, learn about new energy initiatives in Nigeria. Or if you're in the hospital space and the medical space, learn about new medical practices that are in Nigeria. Learn about how Nigeria has been handling COVID-19. Learn about how they do emergency medical care in the protests. Try to learn about what's going on there. Maybe by learning, reach out to somebody on Twitter and just say, hey, I'm here for you. And if you share something in common, maybe you're both people in the tech space or the medical space or teaching space or even, some other space, reach out and just let them know that somebody who has something in common with them on the other side of the planet is thinking about them and wanting to help. Maybe it'll burden them. Maybe they don't want to receive these conversations. Maybe they don't want to receive this attention. I don't know. The hardest part with acting in life is a lot of times we just guess at what other people want. And sometimes we go too far. Sometimes we do things that people don't want us to do. And it hurts them more than we ever anticipated they would. But sometimes it also helps them more than we ever anticipated. Maybe just that simple little message could help that person, because at that moment, they don't need the money, they don't need the organizing potential, they don't need the technology, they don't need this. Maybe they just need somebody to say, listen, I'm here for you, I believe in you, I don't know you, but I still care about you and I wish you well. Especially in times of protest and conflict, it can be really easy for us to forget that there are other people who care about us, that there are people who are either outside of the two sides or somebody from the other side that still cares about us no matter what happens. I know this is going to inspire me. I already feel more inspired to actively reach out to friends in Nigeria, just to tell them I'm here, that I'm thinking about them. Also to do a little more research and reach out to some strangers that I don't know and let them know that they're on my heart. If one can actually be on my heart. I think it's a nice, funny little analogy, metaphor we have. I think one of the most powerful things in this world is emotional connection. Just reaching out and telling people that we care about them. Genuinely telling them we care about them in times where they may need it, where they may not need it. It can feel very comforting. It can bring a lot of joy to me when I say it to somebody else. And sometimes it also brings joy to them. And sometimes when life seems to be kicking us and spitting on us and ignoring us, these little micro moments can remind us that whether we want to believe it or not, we're all in this thing together. For any of you who are listening who are from Nigeria or from other countries in Africa or from other parts of the world, it doesn't really matter. I don't know you. I don't know who's listening, but I care about you. I sincerely want you to be well. I want you to feel the full experience of life, to ride its ups and downs, and to know that we're in this race together. And we always will be. This feels like a very Mr. Rogers moment for me. I sometimes tell people that I think my show is this mix of, what did my friend say? He said it's kind of like Jon Stewart meets Mr. Rogers. I said, perfect. That's what I'm going for. Perfect. You're not alone. I'm here with you. We're all here with you. And we always will be. I hope you all stay well. I hope you feel the full range of your emotion. Anger, excitement, sadness, all these different words. It doesn't have to be English words, it can be other words. Just feel all the emotion. It's okay to feel whatever you're feeling. If you're angry, it's okay. Anger tells you, one thing anger tells you is that something or someone is taking something away from you and you want it to stop. Taking something away from you really care about. If you're worried, it's okay. One thing worry tells you is that you really care about something and you think it might disappear or you might lose it. If you feel sad, if you want to cry, it's okay. It says you really love something. You really cared about that thing. It's okay. And if you want to laugh and you want to smile and you want to joke around or you want to feel excited or whatever you feel, it's okay. We don't control how we feel. It just happens most of the time. And we spend so much time fighting against it instead of just accepting it and letting it happen. Let it happen. Let it guide our lives. Recognize that it's trying to help us, not trying to hurt us. All right, world, whichever part of the world you're in, I'm glad you tuned in, and I hope. No, I know we're all in this together. I feel confident in that. So I'm grateful to have you listen. I'm grateful to have you in my life. I'm grateful to have you on this planet. Keep going. Keep doing you.